The winning blueprint presents.
Draft Zone.
Welcome to the Draft Zone. I'm your host, Lou. Thank you for joining me. This is the 2013 NFL Draft Wrap-Up. And what we aim to do with this segment is to look at every single team in the National Football League's draft. Break it down, look at the picks, grade them out using our baseball grading scale, single, double, triple, home run. There are no strikeouts, as you can never tell how these players will pan out in the league, and you can't tell if a team reached for a player or not because one team's first-round draft pick is another team's third-round draft pick. Everyone's board is different, and so there's no strikeouts here. Today, we'll be focusing in on the San Francisco 49ers, looking at their draft as a whole. We'll take the pick itself, the player that was drafted, into consideration. Also, where they were selected, and how these players will impact the team in 2013 and moving forward. So we'll look at these picks, grade them out, average them up together, get an aggregate score for the San Francisco 49ers as a whole and their draft, and just talk about what this draft will do and impact this team moving forward. So without any further ado, got my big board behind me. I've got my handy dandy pointer. Let's get to the draft board and get busy. So look at the San Francisco 49ers, and it's funny because the last team that I did was their rivals in that division, the Seattle Seahawks, and like the Seattle Seahawks, the San Francisco 49ers have 11 draft picks in this draft. And much like the Seattle Seahawks, you see all of these needs up here. This is our needs board. But the San Francisco 49ers really don't have a lot of needs. It's more like wants. Do you need a quarterback? No. Could you use a backup? Sure. Do you trust Scott Tolzien to be your backup? Probably not. So you can use another backup. Safety. Could you use a safety? Sure. Do you have to have one? You went out and got Craig Dahl in free agency. You still have Dante Whitner. Do you have to have a safety? No. Would it be nice to go out and get one? Absolutely. Do you want to start Craig Dahl? Probably not. Defensive line. Same deal. Yeah, you lose Ricky Jean Francois. I love saying that. Also, you lose Isaac Sopoaga. Okay, and do you have to have a defensive lineman? No. Would you like to get a couple of extra bodies to beef up that front line? Sure, definitely. Wide receiver, same deal. You went out and got Anquan Bolden, the guy that tormented you in the Super Bowl. So do you have to have a receiver to complement a already really solid group with Crabtree and now Bolden in the mix and a lot of young guys like A.J. Jenkins who redshirted last year? Sure, you could use another receiver. Do you have to have one? No, so you get my point. Corner, tight end, same deal. So much like the Seattle Seahawks, not necessarily needs, more so wants. So let's go over this draft board, break down this draft. Here I have the rounds, the picks, player, position, school. We'll break them down, talk about each player, and essentially that will be how we decide how these picks were made and what the grades are. So without any further ado, let's get to the first round. First round, pick 18. You got this from Dallas. So you were scheduled to pick with the 31st pick in the first round, a.k.a. the worst pick in the first round, because that means you lost in the Super Bowl. Super Bowl runner-up gets the 31st pick in the draft. Usually, no one wants that pick because that means you fell just short of accomplishing your goal winning the Super Bowl. Well, you saw fit to go up and get a guy. And look, you had 87 picks in this draft. So you saw fit to move up to get a guy that you coveted. The first safety had already come off the board in Kenny Vaccaro. He was in New Orleans. And so you said, hey, the next guy on our list, and I had him rated as the second best safety in this draft as well, was Eric Reid. He's sitting there at 18. There are some teams starving for safety help coming up, including the Cowboys themselves. So you look up and you say, hey, how about we trade a pick with you, in this case, your third-round selection, and give you our first as well, and let us come up and get our guy. And that's exactly what you did, getting Eric Reid, safety out of LSU, with that 18th pick you got from the Dallas Cowboys. I love the move. I absolutely love the move because what it says is that, hey, we have a need. So you're admitting that you have a need that you really want to fill. Because if you're taking best player available, you just wait till your 31st pick and do that. You don't come up. But when you're looking to target a certain player, a specific need, and a guy is sitting there that you want desperately, you'll go up and get him. That's what you did. Eric Reid, really good football player. I think you're getting a guy that's going to come in and help you right away. We're talking about a 6'1" safety, runs a 4.5 40, very athletic, rangy, can go and make plays on the football, not afraid to tackle. Very physical. All right, he's not going to destroy anyone over the middle. That's not his game. Leave that to Whitner. Let Whitner be the enforcer on this defense. Reid is a guy that's going to make plays on the football. He's going to be able to run sideline to sideline, and he's going to be able to play that middle of the field safety. That guy that you can leave as that middle high safety by himself that can get to one end and get to the other and really give Dante Whitner that option to drop down into the box. Eric Reid, much like Deshaun Golson used to do for you, gives you that option. To me, this move is a home run because the 49ers got their man. That's number one. I'm all about getting your guy. That's what it's all about at the end of the day. Getting your guy. And you got your guy. You had to come up and do it. You weren't afraid to pull the trigger on a move that would help you get your guy. You knew you needed to replace Deshaun Golson. Let's face it. Craig Dahl is nice, but he's not a Deshaun Golson type of player. He's not a guy that's going to make plays and help this defense create turnovers. Eric Reid will help you do that. He's got the speed. He's got the awareness. And he's a really good football player. You put him in, and you guys just keep this big juggernaut of a machine called the San Francisco 49ers defense rolling along. I like the move. Great move. Home run. 18th pick in the first round. Safety out of LSU. Eric Reid for the San Francisco 49ers. We go to our needs board. You just took care of safety. So we'll put a nice little X through that. So we go to the second round. Pick 40. Look, I was amazed when I looked at this draft board because it seems like the 49ers don't have any picks of their own. It's someone else's pick that they got from another team, and they're spending it on a player that's going to help them in the near future, which to me is amazing. So you look at your first round pick. Was not yours. It was Dallas's. You look at your second round pick, 40th overall. This is from Tennessee, and you selected Cornelius Carradine, a.k.a. Cornelius Tank Carradine, defensive end out of Florida State. This is a man beast right here. I absolutely love Cornelius Tank Carradine. Now, the only question I have is, what are you going to use this guy as? Because, sure, he can play the 5 technique, but I feel like that's wasting a guy with so much potential to get to the quarterback. Because this isn't a guy that you want to ask to have to set the edge in the run game and be stout at the point of attack. This is a guy you want getting after the quarterback. And before the ACL injury, that's exactly what this guy used to do at Florida State. And so you took a chance on a guy that has a medical. You're not sure about how he's going to fully recover from that ACL injury. You trust in your staff and your scouts what he was able to accomplish before the injury, and then you trust in your doctors who tell you, hey, this guy's going to be fine. There's risk involved, but you're willing to take that risk. And the 49ers are in such good position with their roster and with their franchise and where they're at that they can take a chance on a guy like Cornelius Tank Carradine. Now, everyone can draft a guy that's coming off of ACL surgery, but the 49ers can. And this is one whale of a pick. You're getting a whale of a value here at 40 with a guy that probably is a top 20 talent in this draft. Easily. But the ACL injury scared off some teams. And so you get a steal at 40, essentially. Now, what are you going to use this guy to do? Because we're talking about a 6'3", 6'4", 6'5" athlete, 245, 55 pounds, built like a tank, which is why they call him Tank Carradine. And this guy can get after the quarterback. Yeah, he can stop the run as well, but to me, he's a guy that you want coming off the edges. So are you converting him to linebacker? Or is this guy just simply going to be a guy that you ask to come in and just be a hybrid? He's anywhere and everywhere. Will he just be in sub packages? Or are you going to convert this guy? Are you going to ask him to put on 10 pounds of muscle and go out to defensive end? I can see that happening. You can see this guy being a defensive end, a replacement for a guy like Ricky Jean-Francois. Love saying that. To me, this is a guy you want off the edges. I don't know what you're going to do. Either way, you got a heck of a pick at 40 in the second round. Florida State product, defensive end Cornelius Tank Carradine. To me, it's a triple. Only reason it's a triple and not a home run is because A, the medical does exist. Can't ignore it. He is coming off of ACL surgery. And B, I'm not sure what you're going to do with him quite yet. Either way, you've got yourself a heck of a football player and heck of an athlete. I think you got a triple in the second round. So now we look at your second round selection. So here we go again. We're spending someone else's pick once again. Back in the second round, as we just noted. This time, we're at pick 55, spending a Green Bay Packers selection. Got this one from the Packers. The San Francisco 49ers spend this selection on tight end out of Rice, Vance McDonald. Very, very solid selection. You lose Delanie Walker. So guess what? It'd be nice to go out and get a guy that can back up the tight end position. So you go out and you draft Vance McDonald, tight end out of Rice. Here's a guy, 6'4", 245, 255 pounds, somewhere in that mix. Runs a 4.7 40. Big, physical, strong athlete. We're talking about over 30 reps at the combine, so we know this guy is physical. Can block. Catches the football very well. Smooth athlete. Does have a couple of instances where he bobbles the football. But look, Delanie Walker was the same exact way. A guy that didn't always catch the football cleanly. So you're going to replace Delanie Walker with a big, big man. Delanie Walker wasn't the biggest guy. So this is a solid pickup. You're looking for a tight end to come in and play behind Vernon Davis. You need a tight end to come in and play behind Vernon Davis. Vance McDonald is going to come in and fill that void for you. He's going to do a really good job of it. And you're getting a guy that's going to come in and catch the football and block and do all the intangibles. And you got to love that. And so, to me, this is a triple. Another great addition by the San Francisco 49ers. Vance McDonald, tight end out of Rice, with the 55th pick in the second round. The second of the second round selections for the San Francisco 49ers. So let's go to the needs board. And you got a defensive lineman in the form of Tank Carradine with your first, second rounder. So let's mark that off. Then you come back in the second round and double dip and get a tight end. Another need. So we'll take that off the board as well. So San Francisco 49ers knocking down the needs one by one. Let's go on to your third round selection. Again, not your pick. Someone else's pick. Go figure. Who would have guessed it? Third round, 88th selection from the Green Bay Packers once again. This time, the San Francisco 49ers select defensive end out of Auburn, Corey Lemonier. So you go from tight end to a defensive end. So we go back to the defensive end market. This time, I'm not really sure that this pick is going to pay as much dividends as Tank Carradine. Look, these two are similar in their build and probably what you're asking them to do and asking from them as football players. You're going to ask them to probably stand up. Carradine and Lemonier. Because we all know of the struggles of the 49ers late in the season when Aldon Smith stopped getting pressure on the quarterback, which really coincidentally coincided with Justin Smith going down to injury. You couldn't get pressure on the quarterback. And it really hurt you, especially in the playoffs. Matt Ryan really made you guys pay for not being able to get to the quarterback. You beat up on the Packers, but Aaron Rodgers had a field day on you guys because you couldn't get to the quarterback. Joe Flacco had a field day on you because you couldn't get to the quarterback. And so the emphasis is there. We see that. First 4 picks in the draft, 2 of them are guys that you're looking to get after the quarterback. So it makes sense. Corey Lemonier was the guy that can get after the quarterback, but there are questions about his ability to do so. Look, we're talking about a 6'3" athlete that's around 255 pounds. Again, you got the same type of athlete, much like Tank Carradine. Not as physically imposing as Tank Carradine is. Tank Carradine is a big, strong, physical man. Not so much for Corey Lemonier. He's not as strong and thick and solidly built as Tank Carradine. And so he has to get stronger at the point of attack. He's not as fluid of an athlete as Tank Carradine is. He's not going to bend at the hips like Carradine can. He's not explosive as Carradine is. And so there are a lot of question marks about Lemonier. He can stand up and he can rush the quarterback. But I don't know how effective this guy is going to be at the next level. So I have questions because I wasn't that enamored with him at college. I really wasn't. So we're going to see what Lemonier does for you. To me, this is a double. This pick is a double. And so we'll see how it pans out for you. But I've got question marks about Lemonier, his ability to stand up, get after the quarterback. Is he stiff? Can he bend at the hips? Does he have strong enough hands to get the offensive lineman's hands off of his shoulder pads and get around him and get to the quarterback? Is he explosive enough? Is he strong enough? I've got questions. Right now, don't have the answers, so that's a double. 3rd round selection, 88th pick, Corey Lemonier, defensive end out of Auburn, double. So we go to the 4th round. Pick 128, receiver out of Louisiana Tech, Quinton Patton. Wow, you actually used one of your own picks for a player. What a concept. So you get the receiver out of Louisiana Tech, Quinton Patton. This is a really good pick. You got a really good football player. I mean, there's not many things that this guy doesn't do well. Quinton Patton is the quintessential wide receiver in the National Football League. Not overly huge. We're talking about an average size receiver, 6 feet. Not overly fast. We're talking about a 4.5 40 type of receiver. But he does everything well. There's nothing this guy doesn't do extremely well. Everything he does is textbook. He runs route. Look, he's a polished route runner already. He's a natural hands catcher already. There's not many things he doesn't do. He blocks in the run game. Very fluid after he catches the football. Smooth athlete. Makes guys miss. Doesn't have a problem sticking his foot in the ground. Whatever you want Quinton Patton to do, Quinton Patton can do it. And so, for me, I like this pick better than your 3rd round selection. I honestly do. I think Quinton Patton is a triple. I think this guy has the type of game that translates to the NFL extremely well. He's the type of player that just looking at him, if all goes well, he doesn't have any catastrophic injuries, he's able to stay relatively healthy throughout his career, he'll play 12 years in the NFL, no problem. because his game translates to the NFL. And he doesn't rely on one thing. He doesn't rely on speed. And so once the speed goes away, he's not the same player. He does everything well. So as time goes on, he'll only get smarter as a football player, more savvy, and get even better. And so his game will last for a long time. Like Quinton Patton, I love the pick in the 4th round. I think you got excellent value. To me, 4th round, 128, wide receiver out of Louisiana Tech, Quinton Patton, a triple in my book. Great pick by the 49ers. And as you look at the needs board, you just handled another need. You drafted in the 3rd round Corey Lemonier, a defensive end / outside linebacker. So you put another slash through defensive line. And you just knocked out receiver with Quinton Patton in the 4th round. So, boom. We'll take a slash through that. And so we are knocking these needs down one by one, quickly. 49ers aren't wasting time dancing around these needs. So now we go to the 4th round again. And this is a compensatory pick. Pick 131, so 3 selections away from your last pick. You select running back out of South Carolina, Marcus Lattimore. What a luxury pick this was. Most teams aren't afforded this type of opportunity because they don't have the luxury, nor the space, nor the time, nor the resources to just select a guy that they know they can't get anything out of for at least a year. But the San Francisco 49ers aren't your average NFL franchise. And so they can do something like this and get away with it. To me, it seems like the rich is just getting richer. The 49ers already a good franchise, already a really talented football team, coming to the draft with about 14 picks at their disposal. So that means if they want to go up, like they did in the 1st round and go get Eric Reed, they can. They want to move back, they've got the picks, doesn't matter. And if they want to select a guy that they can put on the shelf and just allow him to heal, they can do that as well. Cornelius Tank Carradine, Marcus Lattimore, question marks about both. You don't know what you're getting out of either one because they're coming off of catastrophic injuries. You don't care because you have talent on your team and these guys have time to lick their wounds. So, if not for the injury, he's the best back in this draft. But because of the injury, there's question marks. Will he ever be able to play football again? That's number 1. Will he ever be the same back? Probably not. That's number 2. And what will he be when he comes back, if in fact he's able to come back? That's number 3. You don't know what he's going to be, but the 49ers are willing to wait and see. They're willing to take that risk. I think it's a very calculated risk by the 49ers, one that could pay huge dividends if this guy comes back and is half of what he was as a back before he got injured. He was never a top-end speed guy. That's number 1. But at 5'10" and solidly built at about 225 pounds, this guy was a load carrying the football, and he could do everything. Great change of direction. Wasn't as sudden as some of the more athletically gifted backs, but for his size, his change of direction was great. He could make guys miss. Extremely tough and powerful with the football in his hands. Could run by some guys. If you didn't have top-end speed, you weren't going to catch him. But in a foot race, he's not going to win 90% of the time. This isn't a guy that's running a 4.4 40. He's a 4.55 type of guy, but doesn't matter. He was an elite, athletically gifted running back. And so he's been a guy beset by injuries his whole entire college career. And so you don't know what you're getting, but the 49ers took a risk in the 4th round on a guy that if he comes back and can play football, will be another good 49ers running back in a long line and lineage of San Francisco 49er running backs. And so this is a big risk. But if there's a team in the league that can take that kind of risk, let's face it, it's the San Francisco 49ers. This guy doesn't have to play right away. He could redshirt for 2 years if he wants. You still got Frank Gore, who's performing at a very good level. You've got LaMichael James, who's starting to emerge as a nice, solid back out of the backfield. And you still got other guys on your team, like Kendall Hunter, who can still help you. So this guy doesn't have to play for 2 years if he doesn't want to. And so the 49ers absolutely drafted this guy and plan to stash him. This is what you call a draft and stash proposition. He's a draft and stash draft pick. You draft him and you stash him away, and you don't have to play him right away. So, great pick. I think it's a double just because of the unknown. You don't know what you're getting. The risk is very high, but so is the reward. Love the pick because you can afford to do so. 4th round, pick 131, running back out of South Carolina, Marcus Lattimore, double. So now we finally make it to the 5th round. And here we go again, spending someone else's pick. It's always great when you don't have to spend your money. You can spend someone else's money. Doesn't that feel great when you just say, hey, put it on that guy's tab? That's what I feel like the San Francisco 49ers are doing. Hey, don't charge it to us. Put it on that guy's tab. Here we are in the 5th round, pick 157, spending someone else's draft pick. The Indianapolis Colts this time are your donators. You draft with their pick, defensive end out of Auburn. So we go back to the Auburn store again. Quinton Dial, defensive end out of Auburn. We're talking about a 6'3", 6'4", 6'5", 315-pound, 320-pound specimen. This guy is more along the lines of what you're looking for to fill your void along that defensive line. This is a very good pick because it fills a need directly. If he is what you think he is, this guy might be starting for you at some point in the 2013 season. Can't say that he'll be starting for you right away, but if he is what you think he is, which is a prototypical 5 technique in this league, so your defensive end in a 3-4 defensive scheme, which is what I think he is, which is what everyone else projects him to be, he might be starting for you at some point in the 2013 season. And you need one. Again, Ricky Jean Francois, I love saying that, is gone. You need someone on that defensive line to fill in some of those blanks. This guy can come in and do that for you. So this is a really good pick. Big, physical, strong guy, start at the point of attack. Is he going to get to the quarterback? Probably not. Probably not. But is he going to help you stop that run? Absolutely. And if you're the 49ers, you've drafted other guys who, in your mind, can help you get pressure on the quarterback. Keep in mind, you still have Aldon Smith. So you've got guys that you feel like, hey, we've got enough guys getting to the quarterback. Do your job, and your job is to help us stop the run. We don't want anybody running on us. Quinton Dial is going to help you stop that run. And he's a big, physical, strong guy at the point of attack. You stick him in at the defensive end position, you watch him work. I love the pick. I think this is a really good addition to your football team. In the 5th round, I think you got great value here. I think you got a triple in Quinton Dial. We'll see how it all pans out. But if it works out the way that I think it can, I think you might have gotten yourself a triple in Quinton Dial. So let's go back to the draft board. We took another defensive lineman. In the 5th round, let's put another line through defensive line. And honestly, 2 of those lines could end up being linebackers. But for the sake of saying, let's just go with them being defensive linemen. That's what they were in college, defensive ends. We'll leave them as such on this board. But most likely, Quinton Dial is your first true defensive line prospect that you drafted in this draft. So now we go to the 6th round. Spending someone else's money. Another pick from another team. This time the Miami Dolphins are your donators. So with the 180th pick in the 6th round, the San Francisco 49ers select Nick Moody, outside linebacker from Florida State. Look, here's a guy that was a safety, converted to linebacker in his senior year. Injuries kind of made it a no-brainer to move this guy to linebacker. They found another safety that could play. They moved him to linebacker. He was okay at linebacker, wasn't the greatest. Doesn't have great size, isn't extremely fast, isn't extremely strong. He's just a solid player. To me, this is a single. With the linebackers that you already have on your roster, I don't see this guy doing anything but contributing right now on special teams. If he makes this roster, I could easily see him not making this roster. Really, everyone down here toward the bottom of this roster, 6th round and down, long shots to make this roster. I think from the 5th round up, locks, all locks to make your roster. 6th round and down, starting with Nick Moody, long shots to make this roster. I'll tell you who I think has the best chance to make this roster here in a second. But Nick Moody, linebacker out of Florida State, single. Because I don't know what he really brings to the table for your football team. Depth, maybe at the linebacker position, if he's able to make this roster. He has to play special teams and be really good at it to even have a shot at cracking this 53-man roster. You look at the 7th round. Now we're in the 7th round. 49ers have 3 7th-round selections. We start with the first one at 237. B.J. Daniels, quarterback out of South Florida. This is your own pick. Wow. This guy, to me, is an enigma. I mean, one of his earlier seasons, I can't remember if it was his freshman or sophomore year, he was electric. And he had South Florida playing some really good football. But after that, it just seemed like his game was sporadic. He made too many mistakes, too many bad decisions, held on to the football way too long. He ran around scrambling, doing unnecessary things with the football. I think he has a strong arm, but his decision-making leaves a lot to be desired. And so, not sure I really love this pick, but of all the picks down here at the bottom, I think he has the best chance of making his team because he's something that the 49ers covet. Athleticism at the quarterback position. We know who your starter is right now. And so, looking at Colin Kaepernick, B.J. Daniels is the same type of quarterback. He's not in the same build. We know Kaepernick is a big guy, 6'4", 235, 45 pounds. So he's solidly built as Kaepernick. B.J. Daniels is only 6 foot tall. B.J. Daniels is only probably about 200 to 215 pounds. So we're not talking about the same type of build. So it's a different animal when you're a 6 foot quarterback. But he's athletic. He has a strong enough arm to get it done at the next level. And so he's going to take some coaching. But if the 49ers like what they see out of Daniels, if he impresses them enough, much in the mold of a, dare I say, Russell Wilson. Now look, he's nowhere near the accomplished player that Russell Wilson was coming into the National Football League. But his height and his build is much in the mold of a Russell Wilson. And his athleticism is right on par with Russell Wilson. And so B.J. Daniels is an interesting prospect. I don't know what plans you guys have for him. So he's a single. But again, of all the players down here, 6th round and lower, he has the best shot at making his football team. So you look at 7th round selection, your second. Both of these last 2 picks are compensatory picks. This is 246. Offensive tackle out of Iowa State, Carter Bukowski. Look, when you draft a guy at the back half of the draft, in the 7th, in the 6th round, you're looking for athletically gifted and big offensive linemen. Guys you can mold, okay? We're talking about a 6'5", 6'6", offensive tackle, 315, 320 pounds, long arms. Those are all the things you're looking for right there. Height, weight, long arms. You give me those 3 things as an offensive line coach, I'll see if I can work with the guy. It'd be nice if you could toss in and sprinkle in a little bit of athleticism, but if not, fine. Just give me the height, just give me the arm length, and give me the weight. And so he's got all of those things. He's tall, he's got long arms, he's someone I can work with. Put him out there. Let me see if I can mold this piece of clay into something that I can work with down the road. He's not a guy that's going to make this roster. If he does, he'll make it as a practice squad player. He won't make the 53-man roster. He'll be a practice squad guy, a project that you work on and see if down the road he can pay dividends for you. Single. So your last draft choice in this draft, the very last pick in the draft, Mr. Irrelevant, pick 252 in the 7th round. Cornerback out of Rutgers, Marcus Cooper. Again, another guy that probably won't make this roster. But you can never tell. If he comes in, he wows the coaches, plays some special teams, has added value, maybe he makes the roster. He's a long guy, 6'2". Ran a 4.4 40 at his pro day. So he's got speed, he's got height. With that height comes long arms. If he can perform when his number is called at practice, at camp, turns a couple of heads, plays some good special teams, maybe he can find a spot on this roster. But right now, I'm not sure. 49ers could use some corner help, but 7th round, hard for me to see him making a dent, an imprint on this roster. We'll see how it goes. But Marcus Cooper right now, for me, long shot to make this roster. But he's got something you can't teach, height. He's got something else you can't teach, speed. You put those two things together, you've got a shot in this league. Marcus Cooper will have an opportunity to make his presence felt on his roster, but he's going to have to pay immediate dividends as soon as he hits camp. He has to flash and jump off of the screen at coaches when camp commences. If he can do that and adds extra value on special teams, Marcus Cooper will probably make this roster. But it's a long shot. There's a reason why this guy was drafted in the 7th round. And so if he's able to show the coaches that he's something that they can work with while being on the roster, he'll make it. If not, he'll have to try to make it via the practice squad. But he's a single as well. So you look at the 49ers and you draft B.J. Daniels in the 7th round. So we'll take that off the quarterback's need list. You draft Marcus Cooper as Mr. Irrelevant as the last pick in the draft. You take that off the cornerback list. That rounds up your draft. And so when you look at all the players that you drafted and you put it all together, it was a solid draft. You look at Eric Reed, a home run. You look at Cornelius Carradine, a triple. You look at Vance McDonald, a triple. You look at Corey Lemonier, double. You look at Quinton Patton, triple. You look at Marcus Lattimore, double. You look at Quinton Dial, triple. Nick Moody, single. B.J. Daniels, single. Carter Bukowski, single. Marcus Cooper, single. You average it all up, it's a solid double for the San Francisco 49ers. And so I think you had a really productive draft. For a team that really doesn't need a whole heck of a lot, you took care of everything you needed in the first 5 picks. With the exception of Quinton Dial, I think in the first 5 picks, you really took care of everything that you felt was a necessity right away. Eric Reed, a guy that you could plug and play from the first day at safety. Cornelius Tank Carradine. Here's a guy that's going to help you get pressure on the quarterback. Vance McDonald. You're looking for a replacement for Delaney Walker. Enter Vance McDonald. So right there, you took care of 3 needs that were probably the most pressing on your football team. You're not done yet. Quinton Patton in the 4th round to me is a guy that can come in and pay immediate dividends at the receiver position. Unlike A.J. Jenkins, who you redshirted last year, Quinton Patton should be playing right away because his skills translates to the National Football League so well, I expect him to play from day one. Quinton Dial, defensive end, out of Auburn, the quintessential 5 technique in this league. And so right there, to me, you've handled everything you needed in this draft. So I think that this was a solid draft by the 49ers. And if you can get production out of these guys in conjunction with the guys you already have on your roster, you'll be back in the same position you were in a season ago. And that's not bad if you're the San Francisco 49ers, because that means you're winning the division and you're finding a way to get to the NFC Championship game, which could lead you back to the Super Bowl. So we'll see. But solid draft for the San Francisco 49ers. It's a double. And if you're the San Francisco 49ers, that's all you're looking for. A solid draft to complement your star-studded roster that you already have. And so that's it for the San Francisco 49ers. That's going to do it for the 2013 NFL Draft Wrap-Up for the San Francisco 49ers.
Draft Zone.